And welcome to hell. We are in a good mood today. One of us in a better mood than the other. I was unfortunately travelling to Berlin last night with a family, so I missed the actual game. Worst St. Pauli fan in the world. And someone else was a little bit closer to the action. That's Luke.
Yeah, I had a great view of the 3-0 win against HSV in the derby, and it was just fucking best experience I've ever had at a football match. It was unbelievable.
So, watching the game this morning, it's the last time I allow my wife to plan travel arrangements to go visit her family. Never again. It can't be. I'm going to put it in the calendar way in advance. Derby day, no chance. But yeah, slipped up this time. Absolute letdown. But yeah, at least you're there living it for us.
As well.
Yeah, of all the games, exactly 3-0. Just what we needed at that moment in time, as to how things have been going from both sides of the spectrum. Really downwards for ourselves, and then HSV flying high, and just to mess the norms up, and in the manner to do so. The game.
And neither of us anticipated this. Yeah, it was amazing.
Did I say a 1-0 win?
I thought if we were going to win, we might. Yeah, I think you did.
Yeah, you did. I said Matanovic.
Oh no, I said a 1-0 win.
Did you? What did I say? 2-0? 8-0?
You're stealing my.
You said 31-0 or something. I should have gone back and watched. All right, if anyone knows, tell us. I'm going to go back and look at it. Either way, who cares? We won. I don't care who said what. But it's it'd be good to see what it's like in the stadium, Luke.
Yeah, actually, I have for some, I don't know, twist of fate, I wasn't completely smashed before the game, so I remembered to record some thoughts pre-match about 25 minutes before kick-off, just standing in the gate and got out of drinking my Fritz Cola because there was no beer in the stadium. So you'll hear from me in a second, live from the stadium. Stand here in the gate in the Garada. I want to give you all an update before the match. It's about 25 minutes to kick off. There's no alcohol allowed in the stadium, unfortunately, but there's ways around that. So absolutely shitting myself. The HSV fans are in good voice. Hopefully we can silence them as the match starts. I'll check in with you all after the match. Hopefully we got 3 points in hand. The stadium seems a bit nervous right now. The suit curve isn't as large as it would normally be. I don't know, maybe they'll have a choreo planned or something like that for right before kickoff, but right now it's all a bit quiet. Hopefully we can pull through. There's not many changes to the starting lineup. Pack has come back in. Jackson's fit after getting headbutted. Fingers crossed. Forza!
Quick question: was the Fritz Cola clean? Was it clean or?
Oh, I prefer not to comment.
Okay, good.
I can neither confirm nor deny their presence of vodka in that Fritz Cola.
Nicely done.
So yeah, I did some pre-match thoughts and then halftime and full-time. I think you can hear me getting progressively drunker and you can hear my voice getting progressively worse.
That'll be a fun game. For the full. How many beers is Luke in for each video? Well, how many vodka Fritz Colas?
Yeah, it's good to finally do a podcast that we can be happy with the result. It's been a long time, hasn't it?
I mean, it's the last game against, was it Magdeburg, where it's 3-0 again at home. The Millerntor seems to be the place where we get 3-0s. But yes, it's been a while. That's the 7 games without a result. A lot of draws and 3 losses. 4 draws, 3 losses. Good math, Trev. So it's really nice to finally get a win. As we're driving along, my wife's like, "Hey, do you know what the score is?" I was like, "Do you know what the score was?" Because I was driving, I wasn't checking my phone. I was like, 2-0 to St. Pauli. She's like, "No." Like, "Oh shit." 1-0 to St. Pauli. She goes, "What makes you think HSV didn't win?" It's like, "I know they didn't win." And then she told me 3-0. I was like, there we go. That's more like it. Good.
Yeah, I really didn't think that we would
we would get a result this good. It was just a perfect match. It was great. Everyone played so well. Timo got his tactics right. He changed to 3 at the back with Eric Smith in there, who was dominant. He was so good on the ball. He even got himself on the score sheet. Scored the first goal.
Who said that Smith should play in defence, or Jackson Irvine? Some crazy bastard.
If you go way back into the archives in the early days of this podcast, you'll hear Trev making a prediction of putting one of the midfielders in the back. I think this is whenever we were really struggling to find a good centre-back partnership, right? And we were just trying to find any solution.
Well, Nemeth was out, and it's just because we've got such good wing-backs in Paquetá and Saliakas. It just makes sense to have that, that safety of having the 3 at the back. But yeah, Smith or whoever can push on. But it means that the 2 full-backs can get forward. So that's my tactical thinking there. But for it to be in play and to come away with a 3-0 win and Schultz to be in my back pocket, it's pretty cool.
So I guess before we get stuck into talking about that first half, we'll hear my thoughts from the Gegengerade at half time.
Alright, it's Luke here with your halftime report from the Gegengerade in the Millerntor. What a fucking first half that was. So it opened up with Jackson Irvine nearly scoring from a header in the first minute. Good opportunity there. And then Amagnedo could have scored after the ball got pulled back to the penalty spot and he just hit it too close to the keeper. But the real big moment of the first half came whenever Amagnedo broke through basically one-on-one with HSV's keeper, and he got brought down, got a tug on his shoulder, and he came down, and the referee went straight for the red card in his pocket. And you got to think that's going to change the game. There was, if anything, I would say that HSV came into it more after the sending off, which is strange, but there's a huge opportunity towards the end of the half where I think it was Matanovic knocked one onto the post and Saliakas just couldn't finish it off. But very encouraging signs. You gotta think that we're favourites to win this going into the second half. Fucking great performance from the lads in that first 45. Hopefully we can finish the job in the second half. Let's fucking go.
Alright, so there you have it. The first half was eventful, and obviously the sending off changed everything, but I still think that we were we were the better team in that first half. Certainly had the better chances, even from the first minute, with Irvine's header and then Amagnedo with a really good opportunity. And then right at the end of the first half, Matanovic hitting the post.
Yeah, there's chances in there. I mean, Jackson Irvine as well, colliding with the keeper, trying to get his head on the end of that one. So the man was on fire. He putting his body on the line, even in his new settings with his new face mask / patch. He was getting stuck into headers.
Yeah. And the sending off, I think, was thoroughly deserved as well. I mean, he was last man. Amagnedo showed great pace because he was second favourite for that. He was maybe a yard behind the defender.
But I mean, go back a step as well, like the vision and the execution by Vasil, because that's the goalkeeper that fed that ball through, right? That was quick instinctive thinking, and the bounce of it took it through to Amagnedo. And I think the Sancta Pauli midfielder player just left it because he saw that Amagnedo was making the run, and obviously judged the trajectory or something, and just like, I'm not going to go for this one, and let it bounce through. So there's a few things that just worked there and allowed Amagnedo to power through. But yeah, Sean Lau was a bit silly, maybe a bit naive, because you see that quite often where players are running through, you give them a nudge in the back or something, but the referee wasn't having it, fortunately. And
honestly, it was the best thing that could have happened for us, because if Sean Lau had been watching how our strikers have been finishing recently, he would have just let him go on through. Go for it,
danger.
He would have put it in the rosette, I'm sure, and then they still would have had 11 men on the pitch. But taking him down there so early in the match as well, and them going down to 10 men was ideal. Couldn't have went any better, because then that allowed us to come out in the second half and be a lot more aggressive. Like, we pushed our wing backs a lot higher up. And that's where most of our chances came through.
Second
Saliakas and Paquet.
second half stats were insane. We had 15 attempts on goal, and HSV had 3. I mean, that's the difference that the one-man advantage had. Obviously, yeah, I mean, we only had 5 on target, and they only had, I think it was 1 on target, 1 on goal, 5-1. But it only takes 1 chance to score. And the way we've been recently, that 1 chance would have been nervous. But it just showed the second half. We came out full steam. I guess the message there was seize this opportunity, go out and make a statement, do it with the fans. Like, the atmosphere was insane, from your video as well, you can see. So just to reward the fans who, 7 games without a win, they're here to cheer you on, guys. Let's do this.
I think the sending off made me even more nervous, because then the pressure was on, and I felt like they were there for the taking, and it was a really good opportunity, not just to beat Derbysieger, but to get 3 points, much needed 3 points.
Yeah.
So if anything, I was shitting myself more after that, thinking, what magical, wonderful way are we going to fuck this up now?
Well, I mean, you only had 15 minutes to wait, right, before some of your nerves were calmed a little bit.
Yeah. The goal was coming as well. We were getting our opportunities, sort of a matter of time. And we really limited them to not a whole lot. A few pot shots, but no real danger. Zvigala and Medic were class at the back. And Afiz, we need to talk about Afiz.
Yeah,
Jesus,
right.
Man. What a performance.
It just broke up play all over. This was Afiz of last season. Like, I really liked Afiz last season. This season, I don't know whether he's struggled to get going. He's not had much game time, but he was a man possessed yesterday. He had a point to prove, and boy, did he prove it. I mean, he's proven Schultz wrong for leaving him out, because he'd probably be one of the first names on the sheet for next week.
Yeah, and his criticism that he would have got would be that in possession, like he wouldn't be that great. His passing and
his pass to Saliakas for the second goal,
unbelievable. Like, that's what I was going to say. In possession, he was a monster as well. Barely put a foot wrong. And then obviously, just aside from that, him just doing a few things by breaking up play and getting stuck in, he was a man possessed.
Yeah, if he's back in play, and that means that Smith and Jackson Irvine and Hartl have a bit more creative freedom going forward, knowing that Afiz is in that exit position, just in front of the defenders, that gives them the license to roam a bit more forward. So that's what we want, not because we've been trying to have Jackson Irvine in there. We saw him for the second goal as well. He was the overlap for Saliakas to then pull it back, and obviously he's a goal threat in himself. And then Hartl, goal and an assist, and one of our more creative players. So we don't want them back there. If we have an Afiz doing that instead, and he's able to recycle the ball and use the ball in a kind of N'Golo Kante role, or Makalele, I guess, is the original creator of that, then great, go for it. We don't need to repurpose somebody for it.
Of those midfielders, I think the one who benefits most from Afiz being in the team is Hartl. And if we're talking about good performances, we got to mention him. He might have been the best player on the pitch. And I really like him. What Afiz being on the pitch does is it allows him to be further up the pitch and make more of an impact in the final third. And like this last ball is class, so good.
Well, when you mention that, I mean, it's the psychological thing, knowing that if he advances forward and he loses the ball, yes, he needs to come back, but it's the safety of knowing that Afiz is there as a safety net as well, right? So he can be a bit more risk-taking with his attacking play, which is what you need as an attacking player.
Yeah, exactly. And even Mantanovic up front, I think, had a decent game.
Yeah. He and Amanido both looked sharp. Fair enough. Neither of them scored. That's fine, because we still scored 3. But they still created chances. They still linked up nicely. They still linked up with the rest of the team as well and did their job and kept the defenders busy, which allowed the rest of the guys to get in and behind. So I think they did well, and that was a nice combination that we've tried. I think the first time we tried that was against Braunschweig last week, and it seems to be growing. Like, no disrespect to Otto and Egerstein, they're different types of players, and Otto came on and scored, but Amenido and Matanovic seem to complement each other quite nicely.
Yeah, definitely. I'm liking this formation as well with the three at the back. It'll be interesting
if
to
it's
test
three
it
at the
out.
back or five at the back, whatever it is, as long as Pacarada, who was obviously back from injury, which is awesome, and Ritzka did come on. I think that's for Paca, right? To give him a bit of a breather. And Ritzka got the assist for Otto, so that's cool. It's nice to have backup on the left-hand side because Zander and Zaliakas on the right, so it's nice to have positions covered. But yeah, Pacarada being back, he looked up for it. Like some of the strikes he was having on goal, and he just seemed to be in the opposition half more than in our own half, despite us not having much possession compared to HSV.
Yeah, this is something that I mentioned last week. It's one for the books that I actually had a prediction that came true. But I was saying that the way HSV play means that it won't be what we've struggled with more recently, with us having all the possession and just being a bit timid up front, and we'll control the game, control the ball, but not really create much, and then we'll get hit on the counter, and we'll have a really frustrating match again. But with HSV, they want the ball too. They won't just sit back and absorb pressure. So I think that sort of played into our hands a little bit. It'll be interesting to see how we do once we start playing those teams again with a back three or / back five who are going to frustrate. Again, it might be the way forward might be to keep the three central defenders and then let our wing backs loose just to provide more width and try and stretch the game a bit. But it certainly worked in the derby. You got to give credit to Timo Schultz for his tactics on that one.
Absolutely.
They were spot on.
It just gave Pacarada and Zaliakas that freedom. And Eric Smith, as you mentioned, he's a warrior himself. And he seems to have lungs of, I don't know, like maybe he's got 2 sets of lungs or something, but he's back and forth. Got the first goal as well in the 61st minute, I think it was. Was that right? 61st minute from the corner. So it just worked, which is good. It's nice when things work. It's good to test things and try things and don't give up straight away. But yeah, it seems to have clicked with that three at the back, then Zaliakas and Pacarada. Because we know that they're creative guys, and Zaliakas was linking up with Irvine for the second goal. Pacarada was a force upon himself in creating chances, but also shooting himself. He's a dangerous player going forward. So yeah, I mean, everything clicked. I can't think of a single negative except Amenido potentially being injured and Zander being a bit worse for wear at the end. But there were no other negatives that came from this game. On the pitch.
Yeah, we'll get to the off the pitch problems before the game. But yeah, in terms of the football, it was unbelievable. It's just what the fans needed as well.
Yes.
Because
it's what the players needed too, right? It's the players and the fans, because we all needed that. Because I mean, we're quite optimistic, glass half full kind of people. But even we were like, oh shit, this is going to be a tricky run into Christmas. But now it's like, yeah, boy.
And like HSV at the Millerntor, we have them every time.
Can we just start every season? Start every season with HSV at the Millerntor, and it just sets us off on our way.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yes.
And if it's going to be an atmosphere like that every time, then sign me up.
Guaranteed. The Hamburg derby, but on a Friday evening too. How did that kind of play in to your plans as a fan?
I just clocked off work a bit early so I could, wet the whistle beforehand. So got it prepared, had a few beers.
How wet was thy whistle?
Soaking. But yeah, there was some problems outside the stadium, which we'll get on to. Luckily, I missed all that.
Yeah, good to hear you.
But
you stayed safe.
but I was standing in the gate and got out of where I am anyway. It's always packed, so I had to get in really early. I think I was in an hour and 15 before kickoff or something, just so I could get my spot. And then it's just nervous energy until kickoff.
It looked smoky, like the amount of pyrotechnics in the stadium, both ends. Like HSV fans seems to have got them past security as well. I know security do checks and stuff, but there was a lot of fireworks in that stadium.
Yeah, you could, if you were in the south stand, like in the seats above the ultras, you couldn't see shit. Yeah. Because I had friends who were sitting up there and they were showing me photos. It was just like a red fog.
That's amazing.
I think it delayed the start of the second half as well while they waited for it to dissipate. But it was great. It all added to the atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly.
And HSV fans aren't my favourite, obviously, but they were very good as well. They didn't stop singing even whenever they were 2-0 down.
Yeah, they played the
shut
part,
the fuck up.
That's cool. Good.
And
nice. You don't want them, because that's the whole atmosphere and the experience. I mean, that's part of the game. Yes, there's the entertainment on the pitch and the result and stuff, but it's that atmosphere and the banter between the two sets of fans and such too. I mean, yes, it can be taken too far by some fans or the authorities, as you want to touch upon. But yeah, it's good that they still played their part, the HSV fans, because it's quite easy, 2-0 down, a man down, 10 or 15 minutes to go. It's like, fuck this, I'm going to catch the early train home.
Yeah, no, there was none of that. They had two big choreos as well. One of them was particularly cool. Well, one of them was like a HSV jersey. It covered their entire section.
Wow, that's cool.
And then our ultras were fantastic as ever. With like multicolored smoke bombs and
what were all those
balloons.
things? Like, that looked crazy.
Yeah, it was unreal. It was so good. And then just everybody got behind the team, obviously, and it really spurred them on, I think.
Yeah, it's I wanted to ask, like, the goalkeeper fight, because there's a bit of a kickoff, and the only two players that got booked from that furore were the goalkeepers. It's like, why? Because it looked like Vasil came over and it's towards the halfway line in the St. Pauli half, though. And it seems like the HSV keeper came over to tell Vasil, you shouldn't be doing that. You just came further to tell him that he shouldn't do that. So
it was fucking hilarious. Like, I guess, like, Fernandez just felt like it was his responsibility as the other goalkeeper on the pitch to, come up and tell him off.
It's funny.
It's very strange. And then
comical.
Also I think it might have already been 3-0 at this stage. The referee shoving one of their players in the chest. Did you see this? No. Like one of their players came over to protest about something or another, and he just went fuck off, two-handed. Like, it was pretty fucking aggressive as well.
Awesome. I mean, he probably had enough, because there was quite a bit of whining throughout. It's quite a feisty game, as you'd expect, but the referee seems to have handled it well. But I mean, the referee's only human at the end of the day, right? If he's got grown adults, like the Königsdörfer penalty claim in the first half, did you see that against Medic? Where he did like a little swan dive. How do you take these people seriously?
I'm glad there was a bit of needle though, and a little bit of handbags. It all adds to the derby experience. It ticked all the boxes, really.
Caveat to that, if you're on the correct side of the result, yes.
Yeah.
If it's the other way around, it's like, oh, fucking fuck. It's a slightly different message or tone we'd have, I suppose. But it went well. It's a good day, and we're set up for the rest of the weekend now. That's Cloud9 kind of scenario, because based on recent results, absolutely what we needed. Going into the Pokal against Freiburg, absolutely what we needed. And then there are 5 games left, I think it is, before the Winterpause. So up until the 12th of November, we've got Arminia Bielefeld, Darmstadt, Düsseldorf, and Kiel. Oh, and Karlsruhe. So they're all beatable teams. And if we play the way we played last night, that could be 12 points.
Yeah, I guess before we move on from
Yep.
that match, I'll just drop in here my post-match thoughts. This is recorded walking down the steps out of the stadium on my way to Jolly Roger.
Alright, game's over. We fucking did it, lads. 3-0 in the end. Goals from Smith, Hartle, and David Otto, who came on as a sub. What a fucking match. My voice is lost, pretty much. Got no fingernails left from fucking biting them out of nerves, but we fucking did it. What an atmosphere, what a game. It's only one team in Hamburg and they wear brown and white. Let's fucking go, lads.
So there we go. That was me right before drinking an ungodly amount of beers outside the Jolly, meeting up with all my mates, because we were all like dotted all over the stadium. Like, I have the people, my mates that I would normally stand with, but then I had mates who were in the south stand, the north stand, different parts of the game got at it. So now we all just met up at the Jolly and got a big huddle and started singing Derbysieger. It was great.
I guess you made new friends in the stadium too, if you're surrounded by different people, like just a joyous occasion with everyone, whoever was nearby is like,
oh yeah, like, I mean, whenever a massive goal like that first one, Eric Smith's header goes in, you just grab who's ever next to you, and it's just limbs. Fuck, my fucking glasses went on the floor as well. I think they're still broke.
right.
They got stood on, but it's a casualty I'm willing to accept in return for a 3-0 Derby win.
In Germany, obviously, insurance is a big thing. Does your accidental liability insurance cover the St. Pauli games?
I'll have to check, actually. Yeah,
that could be a nice claim to make. Yeah, sorry, mate. It's the HSV St. Pauli game.
They're always falling off at matches. I'm gonna have to start wearing like prescription goggles or something.
Oh man, that'd be hilarious. Please do. Or there used to be kids at school that had the little band that goes around the back for when you play sports that you attach it to.
Yeah.
Just get one of those. That's what you want.
That's how you know I mean business whenever you see me putting the goggles on.
Oh man, what I'd pay to see that.
And then the atmosphere even after the match, just all around St. Pauli, was fantastic. Fucking fireworks going off all the time, and everyone was just in such a great mood. Even though it was pissing down rain, it didn't matter. It was such a good night.
Yeah, and then you said that there's action after the game as well, right? So I don't know if you wanted to touch upon that.
Yeah, so you might have seen videos doing the rounds on social media of some heavy-handed tactics from the Hamburg police. So what happened was that the HSV fans all met up at Altona Balkan Park, and they were going to march to the stadium together. And whenever they got to a roundabout St. Pauli, or the U-Bahn, that's whenever some St. Pauli fans started walking across Heiligengeistfeld to sort of meet them there, and the police intervened. But it was quite clearly from the video, it was disproportionate, the tactics that they used. In the video that I saw, anyway, it's just right outside the front of the stadium, and they've got some fella on the ground, and he's on the ground. He's not harming anyone, you know. He's got his head in the concrete, and he's just hitting them with punches to the ribs and then elbows to the head. It's brutal, and something needs to be done about it. I mean, it's all there on video. It's pretty cut and dry. We know what happened. It's just now time for the authorities to take action, because these are football fans. They shouldn't be going to a match worried that what's supposed to be a public servant is going to fucking give them a concussion from repeated elbows to the head. It's an absolute disgrace.
Yeah, it's dangerous. It's supposed to be a joyous occasion, football match, but it's happening at not just St. Pauli as well, but or in Germany, but you see it in France and in England. And I think I saw a report the other day that reported crimes or aggressive behavior or something by police, but also fans in stadiums, is on the rise. I don't know what the cause or the solution is, of course, but it's scary times, right? It's supposed to be a family friendly kind of environment, but as you say, like as a fan taking your kids to the game and they're seeing that kind of stuff, it's going to make you think twice, which isn't what you want. It's supposed to be a club. It's supposed to be help each other out and stuff.
Yeah. So that was a staying on the Derby win.
Hopefully the fans are okay, the ones that came across the path of the police.
Yeah, let's hope so. But yeah, so I was just going to say, in slightly better news, Jackson signed a new contract. So our captain will be staying with us for the next 2 seasons, is it? Until 2024, I think.
Yeah, I think so, right?
Which is great.
Yeah, it's the kind of news that you want to come on the back of this. Like, how can this weekend get any better? Oh, right. That's how. So I think if we can get a few more contracts extended in the run up to the Winterpause, that'd be good, because otherwise, it's the clock starts counting down to the transfer window in the summer, where most contracts expire.
Yeah.
So the more we can tie up now on the back of this, and another couple of wins or such under our belt, you get that feel good factor. It helps to convince players it's worth staying for. Obviously, the club in itself is huge, with a solid fan base and good atmosphere and good facilities and stuff, and awesome international podcasts. So it's worth staying for.
I think the powers that be saw what happened in the summer there with losing so many important players, and a lot of them came down to it's just that their contracts ran out. Or in like Kofi Kiri's, it was the contract was going to run out in the next year, so it was either cash in now or lose them on a free. So it's good to see that they're taking action and tying our important players down to long-term deals. Hopefully, they get a few more over the line, because there'll be plenty of clubs sniffing around the likes of Medic and Paka. So hopefully we can keep them at the club.
Well, I mean, let's anyone who's got 18 months or less on the contract, just start that discussion, because otherwise you see in the news as well, players who say they've left on a free. It's like, oh well, they didn't contact me until the last moment, so obviously I wasn't that important. So the sooner you start those conversations, it shows the feel goods. Everyone wants to feel loved, right? Even in your day job, whatever you're doing, you want your boss to say you're doing a good job. You want that kind of stuff. So same for a footballer.
All right, so we're back. Sorry about that. There was a bit of technical difficulties, some shit Wi-Fi. Of course, it happens on the Derby podcast whenever we finally have something good to talk about. But yeah, so after that great result, next up we are away to Freiburg in the Cup on Wednesday evening, which is huge. Really tough opposition, but again, it might help us playing a better team, because they'll obviously come to play. Might work out better for us. I'd like to see the similar formation and see how that works out against Freiburg, against really, really tough opposition. And we'll see a familiar face in the Freiburg team, hopefully, huh?
Hopefully not, to be honest, because he's been scoring lately. But I just saw he's out against Nantes in the cup. He's out injured, so we'll see him in the stands. I'm sure he's not going to miss the game, right? But we'll see him in some capacity, but might not be on the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, we need all the help we can get, I think, for this one. They're currently sitting second in the Erste Bundesliga. So it's going to be tough, but after a 3-0 Derby win, confidence is going to be sky high. So yeah, hopefully we can get a good scalp.
It'd be nice. Like, would you prioritize the cup over a successful Zweite Bundesliga run until the end of the year, or would you rather get through to the next round of the cup, be a bit more tired in the run-in? How would you prioritize it?
I would always prioritize the league, but I don't think that Schultz agrees. He always seems to play his best team in the cup. Even last year, he would even rest players in the league for cup matches. And this was last year, whenever we had a chance at promotion. This year is looking more like a mid-table season, so you might be thinking that like our best chance of having something of note for this season will be a good cup run. So I can imagine he'll be playing our best.
We'll see. Yeah, I guess we'll see how it goes. I mean, especially after that previous game, be the same starting lineup, the same shape, the same message, the same preparation. Don't mess with the winning formula. Is always the way. So I think you're right. Unless there's injuries like Amenido potentially, I think he's the only question mark about who starts against Freiburg. Everyone else should be confident going into that.
So do you have a score prediction for us before we sign off?
Yeah, I think it's going to be tight. I think it'll be 2-1. I think St. Pauli will win, but I think it'll be 2-1. They'll score first, and then they'll rattle our cage, and then it'll come back to 2-1. Maybe even in extra time.
Very nice. I'll go 3-2 St. Pauli.
3-2. Ah, man, lots of goals. I prefer yours, lots of goals, because I'm doing the game. So I'm doing the next 2 games. So I take lots of goals any day, as long as it's a win.
Yeah. Through the next round is priority number 1.
Yeah, I mean, I think the next fixture, the next round of the cup is in the new year anyway. So we should throw all of our energy into this, to be fair, thinking about it, because then we've got a 2-month break, so it's not going to have much or any impact, because we need to play this game anyway before the winter pausa. So let's go for it, all in.
All right, I think that's all from us. That was it was good to finally have something positive to talk about, and didn't moan about the team for the first time, and God knows how long.
No matter how hard we tried, we looked for stuff to moan about, because who doesn't love a good moan? But there's nothing. It's almost like the near perfect performance. So if we have that every week, we'll be all right.
Yeah. Cheers, Trev. That was great. I'm gonna go meet up with some mates here and go over the match. Basically, just
Pleasure.
Relive it.
Enjoy.
Cheers, mate.
Go wet that whistle.
Oh yeah, will do. Next one's for you.
Take it easy. See you next week, guys.
See ya. Thanks for listening. Bye.